Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest as the government seems to be abandoning one of the donors who benefited from the COVID VIP lane in 2020 as the political and legal consequences are closing in around her. Michelle Mone, a Tory member, still a Tory member of the House of Lords, has now said she'll take a leave of absence from the House to clear her name. But what does that even mean, given that she generally doesn't attend anyway and there isn't any compulsory attendance requirement? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, really quickly, this concerns a large public contract for PPE being given to PPE MedPro, a company believed to have links with Tory donor and peer Michelle Mone. She denies involvement, but the police raided her home a while ago now as part of an investigation into the funding. And this has the potential to be so explosive, triggering a domino effect of interest in the whole VIP lane fiasco, that for all I know right now, as the video is published, Starmer is putting some of these questions to Sunak right now in PMQs, and I'll end up continuing this topic later today. It should be pointed out that the contracts in question, just like so many others awarded on the government's secretive VIP lane, were not exactly fulfilled. Most of the PPE was useless, and the government's still paying a fortune to store it all for reasons best known to themselves. So we're not just talking about the corrupt awarding of contracts. We're not just talking about contracts being given out where we are paying more than we should be for certain goods. We didn't even get those goods, and these goods were needed to save lives, and therefore lives were not saved. Now, there are a lot of people who benefited from these dodgy contracts, and the UK at large, especially frontline health and social care staff, as well as the clinically vulnerable, were the victims. But given that these dodgy contracts were being thrown around like confetti, how come the focus right now is on Michelle Mone? Well, it seems to be largely because she's been a bit reckless, and apart from anything else, invited a criminal investigation into her dealings. It's also become sensationalised further this week with Matt Hancock as he tries to revise his role in COVID, claiming that she behaved really aggressively in attempting to get contracts for companies for whom she was lobbying. And then there's the denials. See, with other Tory stooges, they don't deny being given the contracts. They don't deny being making out like bandits. You know, they often deny their PPE was useless. They say, oh, no, we delivered what we were asked to deliver. But they don't deny having received a lot of money for their tat. Mone denies even involvement in the companies or having received money related to the contracts. But The Guardian's been investigating this for a while and believes it has seen proof that the main company, PPE MedPro, is set up for the financial benefit of her husband, and that a £29 million payment was made to a group which exists for the financial benefit of herself and her children. She's now taken a leave of absence from the House of Lords, she says, to clear her name. Now, there is no attendance requirement for the House of Lords, and she's barely turned up this year anyway. So taking a leave of absence doesn't mean anything. Taking a leave of absence usually is when you need to say to an organisation you belong to, or your company you work for, that you're going to be away for a certain period of time. You're not going to be available. You don't have to announce this as a peer. You turn up as and when you want. So what is she really on about? Well, there is sort of a system. See, as well as members of the House of Lords, they're parliamentarians as well. So they do vote on UK legislation. So there are some standards that need to be maintained. Not especially high ones, of course, but they do have to, for example, declare financial interest in order to avoid conflicts of interest in their work as members of the House. And I know it doesn't seem to be doing much to prevent what is a whole series of conflicts of interest on the part of parliamentarians in both houses, but it is supposed to dissuade the behaviour on the grounds that the public won't stand for it. Unfortunately, the public tend not to care very much. But Mone taking this leave of absence, it's reported that she's intending to wriggle out of the requirement for declaring interest in return for a promise not to take part in any parliamentary business during this period of leave. So the reason she's issuing this leave of absence is to try and get out of submitting her financial affairs. Which makes you wonder, what financial dealings does she want to avoid declaring and why? Yesterday, the opposition presented a motion in Parliament, in the House of Commons, urging the government to release all information related to the money being awarded to PPE MedPro to the Public Accounts Committee. Now, long before the debate even began, we got news that the government did not intend to block the move. In fact, they were telling their MPs, don't block this move. That being said, I did listen to some of the debate. It certainly sounded like they wanted to delay and limit the publication of the papers. As the motion didn't specify a time to hand it over, couldn't really, because it's subject of an investigation, it looks like it'll happen now because it has gone through, but it won't be a quick process. Mind you, what it does mean is the lid will have to be blown off at this at some point. And as for her announcing this leave of absence, it's not as simple as that either. The rules do state that this leave can only be granted if it's, well, there's certain circumstances in which it shall be granted and there's certain ones it's not. If you're under investigation for potential naughtiness, you're not actually supposed to be granted the leave of absence, because otherwise anyone can do that. Someone's about to announce an investigation into your financial dealings. Leave of absence. All right then. No, that's not how it works. And she isn't just the subject of a criminal investigation. She is subject to an investigation by the House of Lords. In fact, that one has been going on all year. So if everything's done properly, then her request should actually be denied fairly robustly. You know, you would think someone would have told her about the rules as well. So either this is an act of desperation on her part as she runs out of road, or she thinks she can rely on a bit of corruption to get her out of this. But if the government don't fancy protecting her in the Commons, where they have a majority, will they in the Lords, where they don't? And remember, Mone continues to deny any involvement in PPE MedPro at all. If there turns out to be any link at all, much less proof that she really did pocket £29 million from those contracts, she is in a bit of trouble. Her best hope is likely that although the government do seem to be abandoning her at the moment, to an extent, the scandal would be very bad for the government. It's bad for senior members of the current government as well. Rishi Sunak was Chancellor at the time. Of course he would have had a view of the flow of money. He can't claim that he was misled about where the money was going. Dominic Raab was deputising while Johnson was ill in hospital at the time this VIP lane was being set up. So of course he would have been intimately involved in the process. Michael Gove was implemented in documents presented to court a while ago where the VIP lane scandal really blew up. You know, with the cost of living biting hard and the government deliberately making it worse, and they say they've got to make it worse because they've run out of money, any suggestion that the government may not have spent money in the past wisely will hit their credibility. You know, the government got away with a lot during the initial phase of the pandemic, and they continue to do so because the public believed they were reacting to an unexpected event as best they could. It was a lie. The government had been supposedly preparing for a pandemic for over 10 years. But the Tories got away with it. But more people finding out about this, that people died because the government didn't buy PPE from genuine suppliers, that our money disappeared down a black hole because the government deliberately gave it corruptly to friends to buy yachts and mansions, that the same government is still spending money on storing the useless goods that we're never going to be able to use, and they're refusing to claw that money back. If this blows up, it will be disastrous for the Conservatives. My main concern is that many others who were just as bad, but perhaps a little less reckless, will avoid the scrutiny. So it needs to blow up really, and Michelle Mone is obviously the weak link in that regard because she has been so reckless, so greedy, that she's now invited a series of investigations which could shine a spotlight on the whole process. But given that these investigations have been going on for months, we may still have to wait a lot longer yet. The Lord's investigation began in January. It's still going on now. It was April when the National Crime Agency raided her mansion. I don't know what's happened since. You know, that being said, it's a little bit like with Partygate or the Dominic Raab bullying allegations. We keep getting new information coming out. And it seems to be strategic. You know, it could be one of those things where there's a lot more to come out perhaps, and journalists have that information and they'll release it strategically, a new revelation, just when they think it'll do the most good to maintain public interest. Because the Guardian have another story out today of a different firm she allegedly lobbied for. Finally, it is curious, at the time of recording at least, people are asking, why does Michelle Mone still have the Tory whip? Normally, a Tory member, or a member of any party, of either the House of Commons or the House of Lords, if they face allegations, if they're really serious allegations, they could lose the whip if they sound credible. But when they're under active investigation, it is normal to have the whip removed while that investigation takes place. If it's for something very serious and the investigation is very serious, it's standard to have the whip removed. She's been under investigation by the House of Lords for nearly a year, by the police for half a year. Is she threatening to blab or something? Does she know things that she's willing to reveal if the government don't play ball? That's what I'm interested in. But there we are, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.